Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Peace and Black Power family. Y'all already know what it is, man. We in the building. We getting ready. Tomorrow is the big day. Tomorrow is the showdown, pound for pound, and it's going down, y'all. Tomorrow is the showdown, pound for pound. The Floyd Mayweather, Jabari Osaze, Professor Jabari Osaze, taking on Dr. Inky, the HOK legend. All right? So you already know what it is. It's at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you don't got your tickets, y'all just going to miss a hell of a battle. And I'm going to tell you, for those of y'all who do got your tickets, make sure you tap in early. I mean, not early. Make sure you got your food and everything, because this is going to be a long debate. Both of them is trying to knock each other out the ring. It's 30 minutes each round. So you already know they got a hell of a lot of information. A hell of a lot of information. If you didn't get your tickets already, the link is in the chat. Make sure you get your ticket. Make sure you get your ticket. Don't wait till tomorrow. I'm going to be busy. I got a lot of people I got to take care of and make sure they're in the building. So I'm going to be busy. All right? Get your tickets now. If you don't get it now, get it tomorrow. But just know where to go. It's on my, it's in my description. The top link, the first link, is in my description. Know where you got to take your ass to go get it. Don't call me. Don't call me, because I won't be able to do it. I'm not answering my phone. I got a lot of work to do. I got to make sure that the people who paid is in the building and they all right. They straight. So that's going to be my main goal, is to make sure they all get their seats and their popcorn and their tickets. All right. All I'm concerned about right now. For tonight's show, we got my man Selah Shalom in the building. Y'all already know when Selah come in, he's bringing that power. He's bringing that information. He's bringing receipts. He's bringing a PowerPoint. He's bringing that shit. That's show enough. All right, we're going to go into the Ethiopian Bible. All right, the Ethiopian Bible, man. We're going to get into that. Yeah, so that's what we're going to get into at 6 o'clock sharp. I just wanted to come on and talk to you. Make sure y'all are in the building. Those of y'all who didn't get y'all tickets, make sure you get your tickets now. Yeah, this is damn sure going to be fire. Asiatic 777, you got to stop being a punk and a coward, man. Bring your ass in the building. Give up a presentation. I know you got the information. I know you got the information. Hit me up. Hit my email up. Yo, Saul, you know I got a presentation for you, man. I'm going to give it to the people. See, if y'all don't be doing that, then y'all keep y'all mouth shut, man. All the naysayers that's out there, keep your goddamn mouth shut if you are not doing better than the people that come in and try to feed you this knowledge, man. Other than that, sit your ass in the back and just absorb the knowledge and the information. You know, stop always trying to critique something and you a scary ass scared to come in. You know what I'm saying? You're scared. You're scared to even come in and show yourself. So we ain't doing all that, man. We ain't doing all that, man. Bring your scary ass up in here and give up a presentation so people can critique your shit and your information. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm talking about. So, yeah, man, we got our brother Selah Shalom in here. We're going to begin at 6 o'clock. You know, he's already in the building. He in the back. He in the back getting his information ready for y'all. And we're going to get it in, man. You know, I just woke up myself. I knew I had to get up at 6. So I had my alarm set ready. And I'm just getting up. You know, had me a nice bowl of cereals. I didn't eat no turkey or none of that yet. And I'm not saying y'all don't have to, but if I had it here, I would have ate it. It ain't like I ain't wanting none of that good stuff, but I'm gonna be chowing down in a few minutes. Wifey getting ready to bring over the goods. You know what I'm saying? Wifey getting ready to bring over the goods, man. I'm talking about some cheese macaroni and Cornish hens. I prefer the Cornish hens, you know. She knows that. So she got 2 nice Cornish hens for a brother. And we getting ready to chow down. I told you to sleep a lot, sir. Nah, Inky told me that, man. You ain't tell me that. Inky told me you got to get a lot of rest, and he's right. And it do pay off. See, I got my security in the building. Shout out to my YouTube security on deck.
You dig?
Yeah, you already know. Suntan.
Yes, sir.
Got my security on deck, so y'all chill out, man. Chill out.
We ready to roll, baby.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let me go live right quick. I'm surprised my man Selah got to get me a song up in here, man. I need a song from Selah Shalom, man.
My line turned from sugar to shit, man.
It's okay. The toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. The toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Takuri the scribe, hieroglyphs on the scroll. Kimmy teacher, ancient truths in the soul. Napa the queen, her crown never bends. Wisdom in her voice, the cosmos ascends. Jabari the veteran, the base sharp as blades. Dr. Reggie from the Bronx, history's cascade. Apostle Bible soldier, scriptures in his veins. Suntan the general, war cries like chain. You need tough skin, where the battle begin. Source up your information. I'm a thick ass kid. The toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. The toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Uncle Rage made a fire in his stare. Inky undefeated, a legend beyond compare. Moses 777, numbers align. Plans for me a prophet, stardust divine. I saw the fanboy with faith in his stride. Task after Hebrews, the tide it'll ride. Each name a pillar, each voice a storm. In the temple of debate where truth is born. Strings cry out, violence wail. 808's thunder, breaking the veil. Human beatbox echoes through the fight. HOK warriors, their words ignite.
Sweet.
Peace and Black Power family. Y'all already know what it is. It's about to go down. The Ethiopian Bible. All right. The Ethiopian Bible is about to go down with my brother in the building, Selah Shalom. What's going on, Selah? How you been, man?
Hey, man, I can't call it. You know what I mean? Doing my thing. In the background, watching you do your thing. I'm liking how you being consistent with these presentations and debates. That's what kind of inspired me to jump in the forefront.
Yeah, yo, you already know you already got a home over here. Whenever you ready to get it in, you always welcome, brother. You know that.
Indeed, King.
Yeah, so talk to me about what inspired you to do this right here, the Ethiopian Bible.
Well, really, you know what I mean? When you start doing research on Rome, you begin to see how much Rome got their hands into everything. So the same way Rome got their hands in the text is the same way they had their hands in the Ethiopian Bible. And I'm going to show a history coming down to the Ethiopian Bible to show the authority of Rome over not only Ethiopia, but Alexandria, which is the head of the Ethiopian church. So we're going to get into that.
All right. So, hey, before we get started, Suntan, you have any question for the brother pertaining to the topic?
Yeah, brother Selah, peace to you, my man.
Peace, King. What's good?
Everything's good. One question I got for you that's kind of important. Do you, because I know you do with the OAHSPE Bible, but which one would you put ahead? The one you finna deal with now or OAHSPE? Which one would you use? OAHSPE, yeah. Which one would you use as far as chronology is concerned? You would say that Ethiopia has a lot to do with OAHSPE. Would you say that?
Well, it has African history in it, but you know what I mean? The way OAHSPE came about, it didn't come about through the ordinary way how books usually come about, meaning through previous scrolls, previous texts, and you make a compilation of what you get. OAHSPE didn't come about like that. It came about very abstract, very abnormal. When you do the history of how the information came about, it came about through automatic writing, basically channeling, spirit communication. When you go back to the root and the origin of how it manifested, how it came about, like if you want to do the history of how this Bible came about, we can find the publisher, the author, and you can all right, this came from this. You could trace the lineage. When you do that with OAHSPE, you're gonna find out that it came through spirit communion, what they call channeling, what they call automatic writing. And that's why it's so controversial about it, how it came about. And then the books that's in there, it references different historical time periods, but the sources didn't come from those time periods. For example, the story of Zarathustra didn't come from the Zedis, from the Vedas, and the Sanskrits. It came from download. So what we do is we'll cross-compare to see if these downloads that supposedly came from the spiritual world doesn't even line up with historical events, doesn't line up with historical time periods. You know what I mean? And we just dibble and dab from there.
Yeah, I had to ask that because I want to see if you delineating away from the OAHSPE Bible.
Oh no, never
that.
That was I'm not stuck. You know what I mean? I'm universal, so I deal with information depending on who I'm dealing with. I just, deal with them on that level. So
that's good, bro.
The topic, I'm dealing with the Ethiopian Bible, and I ain't got nothing to do with OAHSPE in this particular topic.
Okay, good. All right, I just needed to know that because I thought you maybe was changing up,
No, I acquire vast knowledge, so it's like I'm more universal than anything.
That's good. You ain't in no box.
No, never that.
All right. So without any further ado, we pass the mic to you, my brother. Selah Shalom, you got the floor.
All right. So let me share my screen. Let me see here.
All right, I see your screen. Your screen is up.
Perfect. All right. Before I get started, let me just close this door real quick.
Hey, Sal, what you think of Pops last night? I thought he was kind of interesting.
Say that again?
What you think of Pops last night? The old fella with the partner.
Oh, yeah, he was good. He was all right. I like him. Something different, something new.
Yeah.
All right, let's fall back. Let's let this brother go in.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah.
Here we go. All right. The Ethiopian Bible, a product of Rome by Selah Shalom. Let's get into it. This presentation, the Ethiopian Bible, a product of Rome, examines how Ethiopian Christianity developed under the influence of the Roman Empire through the Church of Alexandria. By the 4th century, Rome controlled Alexandria's religious leaders, and traditional claims that St. Mark founded the church is questionable. Christianity reached Ethiopia through Roman Alliance Alexandria missionaries. This presentation also shows how many features of Ethiopian church is hierarchy, liturgy, and scriptural traditional mirrors structures found in the broader Rome and Catholic world. Now, it all starts with Alexandria of Egypt, which was founded in 331 BC, founded by Alexander the Macedonian. So from 331 BC onward, Egypt was ruled by the Macedonian Greeks under the Ptolemy dynasty. After nearly 301 years of Ptolemy control, Alexandria and the rest of Egypt were conquered by Rome in 30 BCE during the reign of Octavian, the future Augustus. So 30 BC is when Rome takes over Alexandria. In 30 BCE, Octavian formally brought Alexandria and Egypt under Roman rule. The city held the key to the Egyptian granary on which Rome increasingly came to rely. So, 72 years later, from 30 BC to 42 CE, 1st century Common Era, you have the Patriarch Alexandria establishing in 42 AD. The Church of Alexandria is established through the Patriarch St. Mark the Evangelist, the first patriarch. Now, here's where it gets interesting. According to tradition, in 49 AD, about 16 years after the ascension of Jesus, Mark traveled to Alexandria and founded the Church of Alexandria. Having already been in Egypt 4 to 5 years, the Coptic Orthodox Church, the Greek Orthodox Church of Alexandria, and the Coptic Catholic Church all trace their origins to this original community. So all the footnotes lead right back to this Church of Alexandria, supposedly established by St. Mark. Now, here's the catch. Now, this is important because this is where all things start. The oldest physical evidence of the Gospel of Mark is Papyrus 137, dating to the 2nd century CE Common Era, 150 to 200 Common Era. Now, keep in mind, this is the oldest physical evidence of the Gospel of Mark. It don't go back to the 70s and the 30s AD. No, this starts from 150 to 200 CE. This is the oldest evidence of the Gospel of Mark they have on record. Now, check this out. The Gospel of Mark was originally anonymous. The Gospel of Mark was originally anonymous, meaning that it was no pen name to the doctrine. The name Mark first appears in the 2nd century. The earliest known person to connect the Gospel of Mark is Papyrus of Hierapolis, quoted in Eusebian, 260 to 339 Common Era at the time of Eusebian. Church History 339, so it states, this is the source, Church History, chapter 3, verse 39, it states, Mark, having become the interpreter of Peter, wrote down accurately everything he remembered. So the very first time we heard the name Mark is through Eusebian. It's a pen name. The Gospel was originally didn't have a name. They put that on there. So here's a picture of Eusebian, 3rd century Common Era, and Papyrus Hierapolis, who he's quoting from the 1st century. But we don't have no records of Papyrus Hierapolis. It's coming from Eusebian from the 3rd, 4th century. So that's what we dating it from the 3rd or 4th century. This is the earliest source linking the Gospel to Mark during the 3rd and 4th century. With this in mind, if the Gospel of Mark was originally anonymous, with no author name attached and no individual name marked mentioned anywhere in the text, then there is no 1st century evidence of historical St. Mark as the author. This suggests that the name Mark was later attributed to the Gospel and imposed upon tradition. The earliest surviving manuscript that even referenced the title, according to Mark, appears much later in Papyrus 137, dating to 150 to 200 CE, Common Era. What does anonymous mean? of a person not identified by name, of unknown names. So when they found these gospels, there was no Mark, Matthew, Luke attached to none of them. They were added. These are pen names. Therefore, the idea that St. Mark founded an established church in Alexandria in the 1st century is unsupported and appears to be a later fabrication. There is no archaeological or inscriptional evidence for the Gospel of Mark prior to 150 to 200 Common Era. And referencing a distinct church of Alexandria only begin appearing in the 2nd to 3rd century, several generations later. And here, to create a game, we put everything on a time scale, we put everything on the map, and here you have the map. You see the rulership of Rome starting with the Octavane, and then from that point coming forward, Rome is dominating. So by the time you get to 42 AD, where the so-called Saint Mark established the Church of Alexandria, Rome was already ruling. But there's no written account of Saint Mark until we get to Papyrus 137 and Papyrus 245, which is the 3rd century Common Era, the 2nd and 3rd century Common Era. We don't even get a mention of Mark until then. So what we see here, Mark 42 AD, is a fabrication. They placed him there. We're going to show you that too. The Ethiopian eunuch. Now, the first reference of an Ethiopian being baptized in Christ is in the book of Acts, chapter 8, verse 27, 38, and 39. Some make the claim that this was the first one to bring the gospel to Ethiopia, the eunuch. Now, verse 27 states, "And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, a eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of Ethiopians, who had the charge of all her treasures and had come to Jerusalem to worship. And he commanded the chariots to stand still, and they went down both into the water, both Philip and the eunuch, and he baptized him. And when they were come up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord caught away Philip, that the eunuch saw him no more, and he went on his way rejoicing." So this is the biblical claim that they say how the gospel got to Ethiopia through the Ethiopian eunuch during the mid-1st century. Now, the oldest physical evidence we have of the book of Acts is Papyrus 45, early mid-3rd century, 200 to 250 CE. So the earliest known reference to the Ethiopian eunuch don't even come from the 1st century source. This means the idea that the Ethiopian eunuch traveled to Ethiopia was not even attested or recognized in surviving sources until the 3rd century Common Era. So now, here's the death blow. Scholars date the Gospel of Mark to 6570 CE, and that's based on the textual analyst of scripture, of manuscripts, P137, Papyrus 137, and Papyrus 45. So they're using a 3rd and 4th century text to determine dates for a 1st century account. That's what you call backdated. And here's an example. We put everything on a time scale. So these papyrus was discovered in the 3rd century, but they're backdating it to the 1st century. So the Gospel of Mark being 6570 is not even true. It's a fabrication. They're using that. They're using the text to determine where to place Mark in the 1st century. However, the earliest external mention of the Gospel of Mark itself does not appear until the 2nd, 3rd century CE. Now we're going to go into Roman authority over Alexandria, Egypt. Now here is a map of the Roman Empire in the 4th century. You see the purple, you see the extension of the Roman Empire well into Egypt. Now look at this. This map shows how Alexandria, Egypt was under the control of the Roman Empire during the 4th century Common Era. We see Alexandria right here. We see the purple. We see Roman has total control. Now here are some sources from the 4th century historians describing temporary Egypt during the time of the 4th century. Amanius Marsilius, Res Gesta, 22, 16, and 2 states, this is a source. Alexandria, the chief city, is distinguished for its size, wealth, and for being what? Under Roman administration. The same book, chapter 1 and 3, chapter 22, 16, and 1 and 3, it states, Egypt, long since subject to Roman power, is governed by a perfect of the Equestrians order. Socrates, Scholasticus, Church History, 5th century, chapter 2, verse 15 and 16. Look what it states. The Emperor Constantius sent Cyrenius, the general, with soldiers to Alexandria to depose Athanasius. When the imperial troops entered the church at night, Athanasius escaped. Constantius then appointed George of Cappadocia as bishop. The Roman emperor appointing and removing bishops in Alexandria confirms Rome's political control. Another 5th century historian described the 4th century Rome in Egypt. Sozomen, Ecclesiastic Histories, chapter 3, verse 3 and 4 states, the emperor Constantius commanded that Athanasius be expelled from Alexandria. Verse 4, officials of the emperor arrived with soldiers and seized the church, installing George in the episcopate. Roman state forcefully controls the church in Alexandria, evidence of Rome's governance. So now we're going to prove Roman authority over Alexandria with these 4th, 5th century sources. And now you have Athanasius himself reporting Rome's authority. In his own works, Athanasius Apologists, AD Constantium 27, it states, I meaning Athanasius, was driven from my church by commander of your officers. Athanasius personally acknowledged Roman state authority over Alexandria. So this is evident that Rome had complete authority over Alexandria, Egypt during the 4th century Common Era. If Alexandria, Egypt was a sovereign nation, Rome wouldn't have no authority over it the way it did. Now here's Alexander of Alexandria of Egypt. This is the predecessor to Athanasius. He was the 19th patriarch or 19th pope of Alexandria. The 19th pope of Alexandria. He was the leader of the opposition to Arianism at the First Council of Nicaea. So he was against Arianism. He is regarded as a pope by the Coptic Orthodox Church, but not by the Catholic Church. They don't recognize him. As an example of this, the same way Orthodox Judaism don't recognize the Nation of Islam, in the same way that Orthodox Islam don't recognize the Nation of Islam, in the same way that Orthodox Judaism doesn't recognize the Black Hebrew Israelites, is the same way that they are looked upon as not credible. Now, Alexander ordains Athanasius as successor. Now, we just showed how Athanasius was getting pushed around by the Romans, but now he's Alexander is now installing Athanasius as his successor. So again, Athanasius, this is the source. Athanasius Apologies contra Irenaeus, chapter 6 and 7, it states, chapter 6, verse 7, or 6 and 7. Alexander, when near death, called me to him and designated me to the people as his what? Successor. After the death of Alexander, the bishop of Egypt, Libya, with the clergy and many of the ladies, urged me to accept the episcopate. So here is showing the sources of Athanasius succeeding Alexander. Here's another source. Socrates, Scholasticus, Church History, chapter 2, verse 11. Upon the death of Alexander, the people assembled, and the bishop elected Athanasius as bishop for Alexander. Signified him as worthy. Zozomeyer, Ecclesiastic Histories, chapter 3, verse 2, it states, after the death of Alexandria, the episcopate was conferred upon Athanasius by the common vote of the bishops, and the people for Alexander had appointed him out before. Theodore, Ecclesiastic History, chapter 1, verse 26, when Alexander died, Athanasius, whom he had recommended while living, was unanimously chosen by the bishop and by all the people. So here we have sources showing that Alexander ordained Athanasius as bishop. How did Christianity reach Ethiopia? Now we get into it. I just showed you the lineage of Rome rulership over Alexandria, the Alexandrian bishops and patriarchs coming down to Ethiopia. How did Christianity reach Ethiopia? First, let's see Athanasius' stance on Christianity. What's Athanasius' stance on Christianity? We got more sources. Athanasius against Arianism, book 1. The Son is the same essence as the Father. So here you have Athanasius stood on the fact that the Son and the Father are one and the same. Church History, chapter 1, verse 15, Athanasius succeeded Alexander in the bishop of Alexandria. Church History, chapter 2, verse 19, Athanasius defended the doctrine established at Nicaea. Ecclesiastic History, book 1, Athanasius, the most steadfast defender of the Nicene faith. So here, Athanasius stood with the Council of Nicaea, and he was opposing Arianism. And Athanasius commissioned Frumentius. Now we're getting closer to Ethiopia. Now, here's sources. Socrates, chapter Church Histories, chapter 1, verse 19. Athanasius consecrated Frumentius bishop, judging no one more suitable for the office. Ecclesiastical Histories, book 1, chapter 9 and 10. Athanasius, having examined Frumentius and finding him worthy, ordained him bishop and sent him back to preach the gospel to that nation. What nation? Guess what? The Ethiopian nation. I'm showing you the lineage. I'm showing you the pedigree coming down from Rome to Alexandria, not Ethiopia. Now, how did Frumentius get to Ethiopia? Frumentius, aka Abba Salama, the first bishop of Axum, died 383 Common Era. This is how we got to Ethiopia. The Rufinus, Ecclesiastical History, book 1, chapter 9. The vessel which they sailed was attacked by the people of that place. All on board were slain except the two youth, Odysseus and Frumentius. They were taken to the king of Ethiopia, who, seeing their abilities, placed them in charge of royal affairs. Socrates Church History, chapter 1, verse 19. Another source. As they were returning from India, their ship put in a certain point, the barbarians slew all but the boys Frumentius and Odysseus, who were taken to the king of Ethiopia and made members of his household. Another source, Sozomen, Church History, chapter 2, verse 24. Their vessels being attacked, all perished except Frumentius and Odysseus, who were brought to the Ethiopian king and treated with kindness. So Frumentius was the first bishop of Axum. He is accredited with bringing Christianity to the Axumite kingdom, which was a major trading area for North Africa. It is northern Ethiopia today. He was a Greek that was born in Tyre. So you have a Macedonian bringing in Christianity to Ethiopia. Now we have Ezana. This is the one who converted the Axum Empire into Christianity. So we have Ezana become king, early 4th century, 320 CE. Here's the source. Ecclesiastic History, chapter 1, verse 9. Son of previous king, young ruler under the guidance of his mother and Frumentius. Frumentius returns to Axum as bishop, early 4th century. Source, Ecclesiastic Histories, chapter 1, verse 10. Begins instructing King Ezana and organizing the Christian community. This is in Ethiopia going down. Frumentius is organizing Christians and communities during the reign of King Ezana. Now, Ezana converts to Christianity, early 4th century, 330 CE, Common Era. Ezana inscription, Socrates Scholasticus, chapter 1, verse 19. First Ethiopian king to embrace the faith, Christianity becomes the state religion. So I just read several sources on how the Axumite king Ezana converts to Christianity. So now, keep this in mind. So this sequence of events illustrates a clear line of Roman authority over Alexandria, Egypt. We see Alexander I appointing Athanasius as bishop, Athanasius ordaining Frumentius, and Frumentius in return ordaining Ezana, forming a chain of succession that ultimately traces back to Roman authority. Remember, the Roman Catholic Church looks at the Alexandrian Church of St. Mark as not credible. Now, Frumentius was a Phoenician Christian missionary and the first bishop of Axum who brought Christianity to the kingdom of Axum. They began to teach Christianity in the region. What are we talking about? Later, Frumentius traveled to Alexander, Egypt, where he appealed to have a bishop appoint and missionaries, priests sent south to Axum. Therefore, he was appointed bishop and established the church in Ethiopia, converting many local people as well as the king. His appointment began a tradition that Patriarch of Alexandria appoints the bishops of Ethiopia. Now, then converted and baptized King Ezana, who built many churches and spread Christianity throughout Ethiopia. Frumentius established the first monastery of Ethiopia, called the Daba Selima in Duga Timbian. So he created the first monastery. A Greek Macedonian came to Ethiopia and gave you the first monastery, under the kingdom of the Axumite ruler Ezana. Now the Ethiopians called Frumentius revealer of light and father of peace. He became the first Abinu, which is the equivalent of the Hebrew rabbi or the Catholic pope, a title given to the head of the Ethiopian church. Now, the Ezana of Axum, the king, lived from the early 4th century to the mid 4th century, 320 CE to 360 CE. That's a coin of Ezana. Ezana is important as he is the country's first king to embrace Christianity and make it the official religion. The same way Constantine made Christianity an official religion is the same way Ezana did the same thing. And keep in mind, this is contemporary with Constantine. The Council of Nicaea is this the same time period that he's existing. So all this is going down at the same time period. Now look, a brief history of Ethiopian Axumite gods pre-Christianity. Ecclesiastical History, Book 1, Chapter 9. Here's the source. They worship a god of war whom they called Ares, and the king claimed to be his son. Here you have the Inanza inscription, another source. Monumentum Abdulatum style text. It says, by the might of Marim, who has made me king. So this is their deity. This is the Axum prior to Christianity, prior to Frumentius. This is the deities they calling on. Marim was the main deity, the god of war. Now you have another source, Christian Typograph, Book 2. The king attributed his victories to a deity interpreted by the Greeks as Ares. So here are sources of the deities that Ezana was calling upon pre-Christianity. Now the god Mer, or Merim, was a South Semitic god of the Axumites. He was the son of the main god Ashtar, and his counterpart was Beer, god of the sea. He was the deity of war comparable to Mars or Ares in ancient Greek. So now here's a depiction of a relief, South Arabian fragment of a stela depicting reclining ibex and 3 Arabian ox heads, which were associated with Atar. Atar is a deity whose role, name, and even gender varies across ancient Semitic religions. In both genders, Atar is identified with the planet Venus, the morning and evening star. I know you're familiar with that. Atar is a prominent character in what? The Baal cycle. So here we have Canaanite influence among the Axumites pre-Christianity. And we know the Baal cycle is in a Ugaritic text going to the 3rd, 4th century before Common Era. Now, Bero was a pre-Christian Etrian and Ethiopian Axumite god of the sea. He was part of a trinity of pre-Christian Eritrean and Ethiopian religion, together with Ashtar, god of the sun and moon, and Mahar, the god of war, and head god, Beer may be related to the Orthodox Tehudi Christian word for Lord God. And however you pronounce that in the Ethiopian language right here. But Lord of the world. All of these names appear together in the writings of Ezana of Axum, in which the throne is dedicated to Astar and Bera and Medar. So, here's the catcher. If the Ethiopian eunuch had truly been the first Christian to bring the gospel to Ethiopia in the 1st century, then by the time we get to the King Inanza, just a few hundred years later, there is no record of Inanza even mentioning the eunuch. If the gospel of the Ethiopian eunuch had been preserved in Ethiopia from the 1st century to the 4th century, Ezana would already have been familiar with the message of Christ and would not have needed Frumentius to convert him and his people to Christianity. This also indicates that pre-Christian Ethiopia, the Axumite Empire at this time did not recognize the Hebrew God Yahweh, but rather worshiped the South Semitic deity Mahar, the god of war. Now we come to the Ezana stone inscription. This stone monument that probably dates from the 4th century of the Christian era documents the conversion of King Ezana to Christianity and his conquest of various neighboring areas. So now we have the inscription in his own words in 3 different languages. So here we have the translation in 3 different languages, Greek, Ge'ez, and Scythian. And let's see what God he calls on in the time of war. Greek translation, Ezana, son of Ella Amid, king of the Axumite, king of kings, son of the unconquered god, Ares. I have consecrated this stela and dedicated it to heaven, the earth, and the invincible Ares who begot me. This is his words. And Ares is the Greek equivalent of Mahar, the god of war, their indigenous god. Here is the Ge'ez translation. May the might of the Lord of heaven, who has made me king, who reign for all eternity, invisible, cause that no enemy can resist me, that no enemy may follow me. By the might of the Lord of all. Sabian translation, the Lord strong and brave, the Lord mighty in battle, by the power of the Lord, by the grace of Jesus Christ. Now this is his conversion. The Son of the Lord, the victorious, in whom I believe. So you see him talking to the previous about Ares, his previous gods. Now he's talking about he believed in Jesus Christ, showing you his conversion on the stela in the inscription. So here we see King Ezana calling on his pagan gods, Ares, aka Mahar, before calling on his new god Christ. Ezana conversion to Christianity, Rufinus, Ecclesiastic Histories, Book 1, Chapter 10 source, Athanasius consecrated Frumentius bishop, and he returned to Ethiopia, converting King Ezana to the faith of Christ. If the Ethiopian eunuch in the book of Acts went to Ethiopia, they would have kept tradition. He wouldn't have had to get baptized in Christ. He would have been familiar with him. So that's a death blow. You could throw the Ethiopian eunuch, you could throw that in the trash. Socrates, Church History, chapter 1, verse 19. Frumentius, now bishop, led the young King Ezana to embrace the Christian faith. There's another source. Ezana stone accent inscription, 330 CE. By the grace of God, I, King Ezana, have conquered all in Christ our Lord. Now we see clearly that the King Ezana has converted to Christianity and calls upon Christ and no longer is using his native indigenous god, Mahar, the god of war. Now we come to the translation of the Gospels from Greek to Ge'ez. This is where you're going to get your text from. I'm showing you Rome authority over Alexandria trickling down to Egypt. So now, in about 347 CE Common Era, Athanasius ordained Frumentius bishop and commissioned him to initiate the cultural adaptation of Greek Christianity, biblical liturgical texts to Ethiopic symbols and languages. Ethiopian tradition credit him, Frumentius, with the first Ge'ez translation of the New Testament. Keep that in mind. The first translation, not the second, third, or fourth. The first. This is the first time you get in the gospel in the native tongue of Ge'ez. Here go Frumentius, and here is the oldest Ethiopian text you're gonna come across is the Garma Gospels, time period late 4th century to the late 7th century Common Era. The oldest of the two is the Garma 2, dated to 390 to 570 CE Common Era. This is the oldest Ethiopian Gospels you have. The Garma Gospels are 3 ancient Ge'ez manuscripts containing all 4 canonical gospel books. So, if Athanasius appointed Frumentius in 347 Common Era to translate the New Testament into Ge'ez, and the earliest Ethiopian New Testament manuscripts we possess, the Garma 2 is dated to around 390 CE, then Frumentius would have completed his translation roughly 43 years earlier. This makes it highly plausible that Frumentius' works could directly influence the Garma Gospels. Because keep in mind, Athanasius said Frumentius to translate the Gospels in 347 CE. The Garma Gospels only go back to 390. So Frumentius was already translating the text in the Ge'ez from Greek prior to the Ethiopian text. So now, look at this is the Gamarna Gospels. This is the evangelist portrayal of Mark from the Gamarna 2, likely the earlier of the 2 Gamarna Gospels. They have the depiction of St. Mark in the book. We already exposed that St. Mark is a pen name and a fictional character, because when the original Gospel of St. Mark was found, there was no name attached to it. They added that. And who added that? The church fathers. So what is St. Mark doing in the Ethiopian text if it's not influenced by Rome? So now, here we see a depiction of St. Mark in the Garma Gospels. It's important to note that the name St. Mark first appeared in Eusebian's quote of Pompeius Church History 339, late 3rd, 4th century, highlighting the Roman influence present in the Garma 2 Gospels of Ethiopia. That's a picture of Eusebian. Now, Here we have a cross-comparing of Greek and Ge'ez contemporary time periods, around the same time period. The Codex Sinaiticus was 325 to 360 Common Era. The Garma II in Ge'ez is 390 CE. The Codex Sinaiticus in Greek is older than the Ethiopian text. The oldest Ethiopian text goes back to 390. The Codex Sinaiticus goes back to 325 to 360. And that's the Codex Sinaiticus is the Old and New Testament in Greek. So the Codex Sinaiticus, which includes both the Old and New Testament, predates the Garma by about 50 years. This means that Greek manuscripts of the Old and New Testaments were already in circulation at the time the Garma Gospels was being translated into Ge'ez. Now, we come to 480, coming on down the line. You have the 9 saints. Who are the 9 saints? The major contribution in the missionary field in Ethiopia was that of missionaries who were known in Ethiopian tradition as the 9 saints. These men, the 9 saints, came to the ancient capital of Axum about 480 AD and were all well received by the emperor Ella, Aminda, and by the inhabitants of the city. The most outstanding figure among the 9 saints were the priests Zamakael, Pantelwan, and Asfi, and Yeshak, Garma Yeshak. As their names indicate, they came from different parts of the what? Eastern Roman Empire, such as Constantinople and Syria. These priests were all adherent of the same Orthodox faith. However, it seems that they left the countries of their origin because of the persecution by the Christian Roman emperor, who was adherent supporter of what Oriental Orthodox Christians consider the Greek Roman Council of Chalcedon, held in 451 AD. The gathering of Chalcedon rejected the ancient Orthodox doctrine concerning the nature of Christ and adopted the two natures notion of Pope Leo I. So basically, the 9 saints was persecuted and exiled out their country based off the dispute of the nature of Christ. And these 9 came into Ethiopia. It says, look, according to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church's own account, Syrian monks, the 9 saints, reached Axum in the 5th century. They are credited with what? Translating scriptures into Ge'ez and launching a native Christian literary and monastic tradition. Scholarly overviews refer to the arrival of these Syrian monks 450 to 500 CE, their role in establishing monasticism in Ethiopia, founding churches and monasteries, and what? Translating biblical and other Christian literature into Ge'ez. So all the book of Enoch is in Ge'ez, the book of Jubilee and all this in Ge'ez, all these different books in the Ethiopian Bible, these could have came from the 9 saints because they would have had access to all the texts when they was in the Roman Empire. When they persecuted, they was aware what was going on. And this is after Frumentius. These 9 saints came after Frumentius. Frumentius was already translating Greek biblical texts into Ge'ez already. And now check this out. No ancient Ethiopian codex exists that contains all 81 books in a single manuscript. Scholars emphasize that surviving manuscripts included only portions of the canon rather than its entirety. Now, researchers identify second oldest Ethiopian manuscripts in existence. This manuscript, EMML 6977, dates prior to the Solomonic era in Ethiopia, which began in 1270 CE. Look how late this is coming down. And they say this is the second oldest and contains the books of Job and Daniel as well as 2 homilies. Now, we come to the Ethiopian Bible. Now here we come to the Now here we have the complete Ethiopian Bible, which contains, which came about much later, which has 81 to 88 books, 46 Old Testaments, 35 New Testaments. Here's the Ethiopian book. Now here's this. Here's the death blow. According to a new release titled Full Ethiopian Biblical Canon, published in its entirety for the first time, the 81 books was publicized on March 19th, 2022. This is the first time you get your first complete copy of the Ethiopian Bible in 2022. Goddamn 3 years ago. By the Ethiopian Orthodox Tahuadi Church in collaboration with the Bible Society of Ethiopia. This is their works. This is the Ethiopian church themselves doing this, letting you know that our first complete copy ever of a full Ethiopian Bible was in the year 2022. There was never a single fully compiled ancient Ethiopian Bible. Most Old Testament texts were translated during the post-Examite literary period, 7th to 12th century, long after Frumentius. So the oldest Ethiopian biblical text, which is the Garma, is no older than the 4th century CE. So all other biblical texts translated in the Ge'ez, whether it's Aramaic, Syriac, Hebrew, regardless of what doctrine it is, the Book of Jubilees, the Book of Enoch, all that came after the 4th century CE. And here I put everything on the timeline. Here we have the timeline. We got the Codex Sinaitica, 325 to 360 Common Era. We got Frumentius translating Greek to Ge'ez in the New Testament, 347 Common Era. We got the Garma Gospels, the oldest Ethiopian Christian text, 390 to 570 C Common Era. We got the non-saints translating scripts into Ge'ez, 450 to 500 Common Era. We got the second oldest Ethiopian manuscript, EMML 6977, 1270 CE. And then we got the complete Ethiopian Bible in 2022. What we talking about here? Everything is sourced up I'm talking about. Now we're going to show how the Roman Catholic Church tradition and architect influenced the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The link between the Egyptian, Coptic, and Ethiopian church having thus been established, Frumentius returning Ethiopia to set his episcopal see and erect churches. What is the episcopal see? It equals the bishop's seat of authority. Who was the bishop? Where that's coming from? That's Rome. What does see mean? The word see, S-E-E, properly the official seat or throne or bishop. This seat, which is the earliest of the bishop insignia. An episcopal see is the area of a bishop ecclesiastical jurisdiction. Ecclesiastical jurisdiction is jurisdiction by which church leaders over other church leaders and over the laity. What is jurisdiction? The official power to make legal decisions and judgments. The episcopal see of the Pope, the Bishop of Rome, is known as the Holy See. The episcopal see, claiming papal supremacy, showing you who the head nigga in charge of this whole thing, coming back to Rome. Rome's functioned as the chief episcopal authority and exercised jurisdiction over the Church of Alexandria in Egypt, as demonstrated in the previous cited source. Socrates' Ecclesiastical Histories, chapter 2, verse 15 to 16. We see explicit instances of external jurisdiction being asserted. Verse 15, Emperor Constantius dispatched the general Cyronius with troops to Alexandria to remove Athanasius from office. When the imperial forces entered the church at night, Athanasius fled. Constantius then installed George of Cappadocia as bishop. These events clearly illustrate an external government power centered in Rome, imperial authority exercising decisive control over the episcopal leadership of Alexandria. That's the episcopal. This seat of the cathedral of the Bishop of Rome in the Archbasilica of St. John Latin. This is where they got it from. This is what they're setting up in Ethiopia. This is a product of Rome. The papal three equals seat of authority. That's where the Pope sit. Now, here is where we see the Roman influence on the Ethiopic Orthodox Church. Look at this. Now, here we have the episcopal ordination of Abuna Lucas Teshom was held Sunday, February 11th, 2024. This is last year. Look at them masquerading as Rome. Look at the Ethiopians masquerading as Romans. The episcopal ordination. Ethiopia, at this elaborate celebration steeped in the culture of the Eastern Rite, Abuna Lucas was consecrated as the new Kajur bishop. Kajur bishop. And here you see the episcopal. You see the setup, you see the head, the bishop at the head up here, looking like the Romans. Now look, here you see the episcopal seat with the bishop at the head. The Ethiopic Orthodox Tahuadi Church The Ethiopian Orthodox Tehuidi Church dates back to the acceptance of Christianity by the Kingdom of Axum in 330 Common Era. Now look at this. St. John's Lateran, highest ranking basilica seat of the Bishop of Rome, showing their authority. This is the highest rank. But look at the architect, comparing architect. Look at the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and look at St. John's Lateran Basilica. Look at that. Look at the influence. St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican is what? The largest Catholic church building in the world. Rome showing its authority, showing its supremacy. Of course, comparing Ethiopian Orthodox Church, St. Peter's Basilica, comparing architect. Now, you can see how Ethiopian Orthodox Tehuidi Church is a product of Roman influence. Ethiopian Orthodox masquerading as Catholic popes. Look at the brother right here, looking like the Pope. Huh? This is Ethiopians. This is the Ethiopian church masquerading like Catholics. The Episcopal consecration of Bishop Tisfay. Episcopal consecration of the Bishop Tisfay was appointed Bishop of Ethiopian Metropolitan November 6, 2024. This is last year. Look at them looking like the Pope, looking like Catholics. Now look, this is the Episcopal consecration at the Shasia Nuvia in Rome. But this is the Episcopal consecration. The same thing. This is where the Ethiopians is masquerading and getting it from, coming from Rome. And here you see a cross comparison. The Ethiopian Episcopal consecration and Rome Episcopal consecration side by side, seeing where they got it from, seeing where the influence is coming from. All roads lead back to Rome. The patriarch, the word is derived from the Greek word, the Greek meaning chief or father or family. According to church tradition, the patriarch was founded in 42 by Mark the Evangelist. It was the center from which Christianity spread throughout all of Egypt. I already showed that St. Mark is a pen name and a fictional character. And the origin of the Alexandria church tradition is based on a false narrative. Now here you have Pope, the Bishop of Rome, as the head of the Roman Catholic Church, and you have the Abinum, a title given to the head of the Ethiopian church, right? But look at the picture in the back. Huh? In this picture, you can clearly see the Roman influence within the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Look at that. Look at Mary and Jesus. That's the whitest of Mary you see right there. That's the whitest of baby Jesus you see right there in the Ethiopian church with the blondest of hairs. Look at Jesus right here. That may be Peter on the shoulder. This is in the Ethiopian church. Don't tell me that Roman ain't got no influence over Ethiopia and the Bible. Look at this brother right here. Rest in peace to the brother. He passed away. But look at the background. Look at the influence. Huh? This is the first Abinu, like equivalent to the Pope. He was an Ethiopian Orthodox prelate who served as the first Archbishop of Ethiopia and later the first patriarch of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tehuidi Church. And here we have the fifth of five Abinus. This would be equivalent to popes. And you have the fifth one who's in present charge now. So, as a brief summary, my conclusion: 1, Alexandria, Egypt was not an independent entity, but under Roman authority. 2, the name Saint Mark is a pen name and a fictional character and was added to the text in the 2nd and 3rd century. 3, there is no evidence that the Ethiopian eunuch brought the gospel to Ethiopia. King Ezana of Axum never referenced a story of a 1st century Ethiopian eunuch. 4, Christianity was introduced to Ethiopia by Frumentius in the late 4th century. 5, the Garma Gospels, the oldest Ethiopian Christian texts, were translated from Greek to Ge'ez in the 4th century Common Era. 6, there is no single ancient Ethiopian Bible as a single codex until the Ethiopian Bible was canonized in 2022. 7, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church shows significant Roman influence through its episcopal structure, apostolic succession, and biblical traditions, from Rome's authority over the Church of Alexandria to the ordination of bishops like Athanasius and Frumentius. The Ethiopian church hierarchy, liturgy, and scriptural translations reflect a strong connection to Roman ecclesiastical authority and Greek Christian tradition rather than an independent Ethiopian Bible or a church existing between the 1st and 2nd century, 1st and 4th century. And there I land my plane.
Man, oh man. I don't know how this can be disputed. See, one thing I know, when when you brothers come up, man, you're going to bring the sources. You're going to bring the facts. When the Israelites brothers come up, they just run their mouth and run their lip, man. And the only sources they got is their Bible, which is really not a source. You got to go outside of that, brothers. That's what I be trying to tell y'all. And if you can't pull a real, reliable source from that, then you don't have a source. So we're going to open up the platform and allow y'all to come in. This is the Q&A. Questions only on the topic. Questions will only be answered on the topic. All right? So without any further ado, I see I got one of your brothers up in here, Prince Judah.
That's right. Gang in the building. Critic gang. You know what it is.
What's going on, Prince Judah?
Gang in this building. What's good with it? Selah, great job, big brother. Peace to you, man. Peace to the chat. Peace to the panel.
Indeed, King.
All praises to the everywhere present creator, man, the God maker. Let's get it. Hey, you did a great job, brother. Well presented information. I love the fact that you was able to show the influence of the Roman Empire upon the Ethiopian culture and tradition, religion, and the Bible itself, brother. That was great work.
Indeed, and keep in mind, we sourced everything up. I just like Sarnetta said, I just ain't rambling. I sourced everything up from the Roman influence to the ordinations, to the conversions, pre-Examite Christianity, post Christianity. I showed it all, sourced it all. So if nobody has a source to back, then you're just rambling. And I'm gonna say to the next person.
Yeah,
and I like the fact that you brought them sources out. Like Sarnetta said, man, a lot of Hebrew Israelites, they come up here to get to talking, you know what I mean? R.I.P. to the Israelites, man, to the Hebrews, because they don't have sources. They just got a lot of rhetoric and heated, you know what I'm saying, passion, but nothing that can show and prove timeline through history. See, when you brought that timeline out and showed, you know what I'm saying, that's a whole different level of information and factual presentation. A lot of Hebrew cats ain't doing that. They just
right. Exactly. All right. Let me get to my brother Rakufu. What up?
What's up, family? I'm not gonna say anything right now, like King Selah Shalom just said. You know, come with the facts. I'm looking up some stuff. I'm sourcing some stuff. So I'm gonna let somebody else go. Then I got a really crucial question for him.
Man, here we got a brother that did a presentation on the Ethiopian Bible, and Moses 777 is in the comment section instead of hitting the goddamn panel. That's all Moses talk about is the Ethiopian Bible. And now we got a brother that did a powerful show. Moses hiding in
hiding, boy. They boys be hiding in the background, man. Hiding in the comments, man. It's crazy.
Zion Ward Child. Hold on, man. I got my brother Zion Ward Child. I seen you kick ass. Zion Ward Child. I seen it.
Oh, brother. Man, that was a whole bunch of rhetoric, you know.
Yeah, you beat
facts. But let me just say this. Are you aware of the influence and the nature of Ethiopia's relationship with Greece and Rome even prior to Christianity?
I just sourced up their beliefs and the gods that they worship pre-Christianity. The god Mahar. Hold on, let me ask me a question. Let me get it out. The god Mahar was one of the deities Izana was calling upon in the Izana inscription. I just sourced that. So
okay, that's
pre-Christianity.
I'm going prior to that. I'm going back to Greek mythos but prior to Christianity, when Greece was still worshiping Zeus and Rome was still worshiping Jupiter. Do you know that the Ethiopians were the ones who influenced Greece and Rome prior to the Roman influence within?
You got a source for that?
Oh, yeah, I got a couple of them. One is in GreekReporter.com.
How does that negate the fact that Frumentius came with Christianity in the 3rd, 4th century?
What I think you're doing is you're making a fallacy argument to claim that Rome somehow Roman influence takes away from the authenticity of Ethiopia's Christianity, when Ethiopia, their Christianity does not reflect Roman Christianity. It was even prior to the Roman Catholic Church.
He's saying he just showed it.
Well, I mean, I can make a presentation. I already sent you a text message.
Hold up. The oldest Ethiopian text you got is the Garma Gospels, and that was translated. That was translated in Greek.
What does that have to do with the price of a can of beans in Bolivia? There are influences. You're saying that the title is influence does not denote a product of. So we have European influence. We're not a product of Europe.
Your Bible
is. To say that somebody is
hold up, don't speak out of turn, brother.
Christianity itself is influenced by. So if Christianity is influenced by Roman influence, the whole story is about Jesus and the Israelites and the Romans. So the Roman influence is already there. You don't have to try to interject what happened later when Christianity itself, the New Testament itself, is relegated off the influence of Rome on Middle East and Israel.
That's why I say all roads lead back to Rome. Rome had their hands in all of it.
They had their hands. It's not suggest being
obvious. You just proved it.
Okay, so Sanetta, let me ask. I got my research.
No, hold on. You see these two brothers going back and forth. I'm gonna let you go, Rakufu. Okay. So let me ask you, Selah. Are you willing to debate this brother? He just came off a hot debate, and the brother is qualified. They call him Zion Warchild.
You know, I'm up for any challenge. It's got to make sense.
Right. That's correct. I agree with you.
You know me. I ain't just battling anybody. I got a certain standard. You know what I mean? Because
right. I feel you.
It's been a lot of foolishness going on with some of these cats from the House of Consciousness. You know, I come from when you first started, when you had cats that wouldn't even had a time of day on your platform when you first started. When you
that's correct.
The Ali Muhammad's, you know what I mean? The early days, man. Cats
especially they moved on with their lives though. They got families now and all that.
Yeah, we grow up, you know that though.
People move forward. So you got to keep it going.
But like you say though, the adjustment, bro. Source up or shut up. I sourced up everything I said.
Everything you sourced up. Okay, Rakufu, what you got, brother?
Yeah, my question to you, Shalom, is
Shalom.
Huh?
Selah Shalom.
Oh, Selah Shalom. My question would be, are you, because I didn't get to see the whole program, inferring that the Catholic Church in itself, its essential nature, is even anywhere near as old as the Garama Gospel?
The Garama Gospels,
I'm asking,
is 390 Combinero. So Frumentius was already translating in 347 the Greek New Testament into Ge'ez under the commission of Athanasius, and this is 347. This is close to 50 plus years before the oldest Ethiopian Gospels is written.
Right. All right,
so you got the Codex Sinaitica 320 Combinero that is even before that, and that's the Old and New Testament already in Greek long before the Garmana Gospels.
Fact. Okay, and then I want to ask, have you heard, you know how Hebrews got oral tradition, and they said it was oral tradition before the actual Bible, so they had things.
Indeed. But the oral
tradition. So my question, I want to make this statement because Ethiopia says they have an oral tradition, and some Eastern churches back it, some don't. It's political. But they're saying when the three kings visited the child, the three Magi, one of them was King Belteshazzar from Ethiopia. So that would say, and that's their claim orally, is that we were there from day one, from the first king meeting the baby born.
But see, even with that, I showed that the oldest Gospels of the New Testament, like I said, goes back to the Garma Gospels. So even that, they're referencing a 3rd, 4th century text to validate something that took place in the 1st century. So even with that story, it's not coming from the 1st century sources. It's coming from the 3rd or 4th century, and they're backdating it to figure out when did this take place.
Okay, that was my question.
All right, let me move on over. Cosmon, what up, man?
Salute everybody out there. Peace, love, light, man. Another fire build. Selah Shalom, and that's what this is what I wanted you to kind of focus in on, because I don't think people really understand exactly what you're saying. That Christianity was brought to Ethiopia by the Roman Church and had already been there hundreds of years. The Bible was actually written in Greek and had been at least 250 years before the time of Mark's so-called existence. Could you speak to their control? And I think you said it the best, all roads lead to Rome, during the first century BC, first century CE, second century CE, that to even write a book, you had to be in cahoots with Rome. Could you speak about that?
Yeah, you couldn't even write in Greek if you wasn't. You couldn't write Greek if you wasn't learning Greek, classical Greek literature. So it's like, at the end of the day, all roads lead back to Rome, regardless of how you want to twist it, how you want to put it. Rome had their hands in all the biblical texts. I just showed you in the Garma Gospels, they had the picture of St. Mark in there. I read to show that when they found the Gospel of St. Mark, it was anonymous. They added that name Mark to the Gospels. So for that,
Selah, if you want, you can always go back to your slide and show them again if you want. It's up to you.
No doubt. No, if somebody asks, I'll show it if somebody needs to. But,
right.
But for the picture of St. Mark to be in the oldest Ethiopian text, that shows you Roman influence right there, because it was Eusebian who quoted the first name, the Gospel of Mark according to Mark. That came from the quote from Eusebian from the 3rd century.
Yeah.
Prior to that, there was no Gospel of Mark. It was just an anonymous text.
I was looking at them dates, and I was looking at the people, man. That was European.
Yeah. Prometheus was a Greek. He was a Macedonian.
Prometheus is Greek. Yeah.
And the thing is, all them come out of when Rome took over in 30 BC. Prior to that, man, the Ptolemies, all of them was Macedonians, all of them was Greeks. Yep. And they got a strong influence.
Yeah.
Pre-Roman culture.
That's what I'm asking you now. When they just came in and influenced? I mean, they came into their area, right?
You see, Rome took over, and they had authority, and they'll let people do what they do. Like Rome had Alexandria over Egypt. I showed how Rome had authority over Alexandria, Egypt. From Athanasius was kicked out of his own church, and Rome put another bishop in there. That's like the SWAT team coming in your crib, taking everything out your crib, and taking you to jail. That's authority. They have authority over you.
Right.
So Rome had authority over Alexandria, Egypt, and it was Alexandria, Egypt, the bishops of Alexandria, Egypt, that came to Ethiopia and established the Ethiopian church.
Yeah. So King Selah.
Revelation, let me know that's you back there, brother. Let me know that's you back there, Revelation.
So King Selah.
Mm-hmm.
When you say all roads lead back to Rome, I hit the thing with was the Roman church founded before the Egyptian Coptic writings. And it comes back, this comparison is complex because both the Roman church and Egyptian Christianity have roots in the 1st century CE. However, when comparing the founding of the institutional Roman church to the earliest Coptic writings, the Coptic writings predate the former Roman church structure. So with everything, all roads lead back to Rome or to Egypt, with that being known?
It lead back to Rome because I showed 30 BC, Octavian conquered Egypt. So from that point, from 30 BC, Egypt is under Roman authority. So anything that goes on, if Rome don't want that, they're going to dismiss it. The same way the Romans came to Anastasia in Alexandria, Egypt, and dismissed him, deposed him from office and put up another bishop, showing you their authority. But that's why I showed the oldest text. That's why you got to always go back to the text.
Yeah.
The oldest text, the Garma Gospels, go back to 390 CE. The Codex Sinaitica was 320 CE. There was already Old and New Testament already done in Greek. So the sources, you got to show the sources, the physical evidence of the sources.
You're suggesting that that Roman influence in Christianity from Alexandria and the early Coptic churches going into Ethiopia somehow gave Rome authority in Ethiopia?
Yeah, because the same way an OG could be sitting at his chair and I could call out a hit and get somebody hit in California and I ain't got to go there. It's the same way the Romans could send somebody from Alexandria, Egypt to go to Ethiopia and get the job done.
So what about the two wars that happened against Ethiopia, between Ethiopia and the papal authorities from Italy?
What time period is this? What time period?
This is in the recent times. This was in
I need a date.
first was 1880, I believe, was the first Ethiopian Italian War, and then 1936 was the second Ethiopian Italian War.
Way late.
These are, but here's the thing: the reason why they had the wars is because of the simple fact that the Ethiopian Orthodox Church did not acknowledge.
It doesn't matter. You're off topic.
No, I'm saying no. It's not off topic because what I just asked was, bro, come on.
But look though, the Orthodox Catholic Church didn't recognize the Alexandria Church, and I showed that in the presentation. They didn't respect the Church of Alexandria. That's why Rome was disrespecting it. Rome came, that's why I say Rome. They sent Rome displaced. That's like somebody going to displace the bishop right now and putting another bishop in charge. Whatever country do that has the authority over Rome.
But Rome was not able to do that to Ethiopian bishops.
They didn't have to go.
They had to go to war twice.
This is why I said
and
I don't have to go to California to get a man hit. I can have power enough to make a call.
They tried, and then
my man go to California and he do the hit, while I'm still sitting here.
They tried.
So what I'm saying is that all roads leads back to Rome. Rome ain't got to goddamn leave the house. Pope ain't got to leave. Pope ain't got to go do the hit. He'll have somebody do the hit for him based on his authority and power. The same way they came and took Athanasius out the church and put a new bishop showing their power and authority.
Right. The fact.
Hold up, Cosmona. Is this the 2-on-3, 4-5-on-7, just 1-on-1? Let them talk.
Yeah.
Yo. It's all good.
Yeah.
Because I might pop in. I don't want somebody saying, hold up.
I'm used to the triangulation. I'm used to it.
No, that's all good. We go to the next caller because we got several people on. We just keep moving around.
But so I'm asserting that there wasn't the power that you're claiming that Rome had in Ethiopia. In fact, Ethiopia was isolated for many years. And on top of that, one of the things you said about those dudes being put out of their church and running to Ethiopia actually supports my premise that Ethiopia was a safe haven for Christians who were not down with the Roman authority.
I wouldn't say it was a safe haven. It was just that something that wasn't of their interest. Trust me, if they wanted to go down in Ethiopia, they would have went down in their first century because they had the power to do it. But they didn't have no interest. The interest was in Egypt.
The objective fact that you're wrong, Zion Warchild, is that a Roman, the objective proof that you're dead wrong is that a Roman bishop, Athanasius, is already in Ethiopia.
But he's not a Roman Catholic. That's not the papacy.
He is a Greek. He's a Roman.
That's not the papacy.
It is the papacy.
The papacy came after, brother.
The papacy came after.
See how they be doing it. They don't even do
it. Hold on 1 second. 1 second.
One second.
And they're still trying to go over it.
1 second. I just want to finish. I just want to get it out. 1 second. 1 second, brother. The objective proof that you're wrong is that a Roman, Athanasius, is already there, bringing another Macedonian Greek named Frumentius in the 300s. Hold on, be quiet. After the Ecumenical Council of Nicaea, so you're dead wrong, and you can't prove anything other than that.
Policy of equivocation. You're trying to say that there was authority there, and y'all are not demonstrating demonstrating influence, not
Zion.
Boy, great.
Zion, watch out. It's our netter. Zion, you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to smoke with Cosmon? No.
I do. I sent you a text.
Cosmon, what's up, man?
Yeah, all fades except. I'll beat him up.
There we go. We're gonna set this thing up. I don't know if I still got your number, Cosmon. I think I still do. But Zion Warchild, do I got your number? Or you got my number?
Yeah, I just texted you. I sent you a text. You got to check.
Okay. We're gonna set this thing up.
So what is the debate? That
during we'll get it together. Yeah. Let me move on to the next show, to the next brother now. I want to get Revelation in the building. Revelation X. You got a question for Selah?
I have more than one question for Selah. Peace and blessings to everybody.
Peace.
Selah, shalom. You good, brother?
It's a big man. What going, Trini?
Oh gosh, I like when they do that, you know. I like when they do that.
You're back down, boy.
You understand it? But I doesn't want to do that too much because they might even understand when we talk like this now, see that way. So I will just go back to what I normally talk, right?
All right. Go ahead, buddy.
All right. Firstly, I see the entire, I have not, seen the entire presentation, probably saw about 15 minutes of it. And I would have to say, good presentation.
Yes, sir.
The thing about it is you come close to my heart. Now, I have some pushback, you know. It's not much, but I have some, because you're talking about things that I love. You're talking about Ethiopia, and you're talking about the Bible.
Yeah,
right? Yes, the Bible and Ethiopia. And I am aware of, King Izana and, and Fomentus and all these things. No problem. It's not a problem. And I really can't give pushback on the documents that you presented. But my question to you, because obviously everybody learns something from somewhere, right? Now, if I was to ask you if these people or the Romans learned anything from Kemet or Egypt, I think you would say yes, because Kemet is basically the cradle of civilization. Anybody could correct me when I'm going wrong on the panel, okay? Please. Senator, you is a commission. Kemet is basically, the cradle of civilization. Would you say that, Senator?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Now, very well. And Selah, Shalom, what would you say about that? I'm just asking, walk with me a little bit. Just walk with me a little bit. Would you call a place like Kemet?
I know the order, Dread.
All right. Now, the Rastaman, them say Ethiopia the first.
Done okay.
But when we also see the teachings of Dr. Ben, Yosef Yochanan, and Dr. John Henry Clark, who actually teaches us that Egypt or Kemet, which we all just agree is the cradle of civilization, is the first daughter of Ethiopia.
Yes,
I know. I just want to know: are you aware of that teaching as well?
King Rastaman, here you chat about Aya.
Yes, sir.
I ain't born yesterday, King.
Thank you.
12 tribes. I come from that Aya, so I know the order. Well, King.
Very well. Nice. Now, if Egypt is Ethiopia's oldest daughter, then my simple question to you would basically be, where did Rome get their teachings from? That's my first question, sorry. Where would you say that the Romans got their teachings from?
There you go.
The Romans got their teachings from the Greeks. The
Fact.
Greeks conquered. The Greeks was ruling Egypt prior to Rome.
Mm-hmm.
That's why all your biblical translations come from Greek.
Mm-hmm.
That's why your oldest Ethiopian text, the Gamma Gospels, is translated from Greek. Latin came later. But you have to deal with historical time periods. Because we know Africa, Ethiopia is the mother. Yeah, but we're talking 4 or 5 millennium BC we talking. But what I'm talking about is 3rd, 4th century Common Era Ethiopia, Egypt, and Rome. And when we acknowledge that, we're going to see that the Christianity, let's start with Serapis. Let's start with Ptolemy the First. Ptolemy the First is the one who gave you Serapis. He took Anubis, he took Apis, and he took Osiris and gave you Serapis. After the deity, Serapis was created, which is the savior, his son, Ptolemy's son, Ptolemy II, he's the one that is credited for translating the Septuagint from so-called Hebrew to Greek. So now you have a deity named Serapis as a savior. Then you have a biblical text to go with the deity. So I'm showing you how through history, it's a construct.
Fact.
An identity of cultural history when we're dealing with the Greeks coming on down to the Romans and coming down to the influence of these cultures on the Africans of that day.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time
I heard you say that. Sorry, go ahead. No.
I was about to say, by the time you get to the 4th, 3rd century, Christianity, Romans, and Ethiopia is in the death doors of goddamn Rome by the time you get to Fomentus.
I feel that. But I just will consider something, because you always, when you speak of it, especially with the translations, it's always translated from Hebrew to Greek, then to probably Rome, but it's always black first. If you understand where I'm going with this, even though something came from Rome.
Beyond the skin complexion is the mentality.
Right.
It's the mentality. You could be the blackest of tar and got the. I showed the picture.
The evilest.
I showed I showed the Abinu with the pictures of white Mary Jesus behind him. And this is Ethiopia, who ain't been colonized by the goddamn transatlantic slave trade. Them niggas still in Ethiopia today ain't been colonized and got the pictures of white Jesus in their goddamn church. That shows you Roman influence right there.
All right, Revelation. I got to move on.
Sir, one more question, sir. One more question, please. Would you say that the OAHSPE Bible has any type of Roman influence, Selah?
Hey, man, we speak Roman today, man. We speak a Roman language. We all goddamn Romans in America today.
So I take that as a yes. I take that as a yes.
To the 10th power. You know what I mean? So of course, there's influence, and that's why all books lead back to Rome. But at the end of the day, the OAHSPE is a different beast. It's a different monster. That's why I had to come back. Let me leave the OAHSPE on and come back to where the people at and beat them up where the people at.
Now, hold up, Selah. Are you saying all biblical and Abrahamic faith lead back to Rome? Wouldn't it lead back to Kemet first?
Right.
Actually, hold on. He said biblical. All biblical texts. The oldest biblical text you got is the Dead Sea Scrolls. There is no older text as far as the old 5 books as a codex. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Prior to the Dead Sea Scrolls, you're gonna have fragments here and there. You got the Kepha scroll that go back to like the 7th century. That's the oldest one that they got. Prior to that, it's just pieces here and there. But the oldest script that they have on record as a codex is the Dead Sea Scroll, and everything down from the Dead Sea Scroll, which is 3rd century BC coming on down. So no biblical texts go back to 1000 BC, 1200 BC. No. All biblical texts.
Now, didn't you say Rome conquered Egypt?
Right.
So you got to know that Rome learned so much out of Egypt, brother.
Everything.
Right.
No.
But hold on.
Wait. The Greeks learned from Egypt.
Right.
The Romans learned from the Greeks, but by the time the Romans got it, the Greek culture has already been Europeanized because you got Serapis. They took Serapis
what y'all don't understand.
Jesus.
I got you.
Y'all don't understand. There's a 300-year gap that you're not taking into account from when the Greeks come in to when the Greeks leave, pushed out by the Romans. There's 300 years in between the two.
By the time the Greeks conquered Egypt,
They ran Egypt.
Right. By the time the Romans is in charge, Greek had already culturally fashionized the culture. They got Serapis, they got Serapians, worships during the Ptolemaic time. They got temples to worship for Serapis, the savior. This is during the Greek Ptolemaic time. So by the time Rome come around, they're fashioning their history based off Greek culture.
Based off Greek.
Although they got it from Egypt, they got them manipulated it and changed it. So they're not giving you Osiris. Like the Greeks ain't giving the Romans Osiris, they giving you Serapis.
All right, let me bring
I'm good, sir. Yes, sir. And thank you very much, Selah.
Let me bring on Dr. David Roots. What's up, brother, Dr. David Roots? Unmute yourself, brother.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, brother.
Yeah, greetings to you. Calling from London as usual. It's late, but I had to jump on the call because this is something that I could definitely inform and contribute to. Sonetta.
Yes.
You see that?
Hold on. Yes, go ahead. I see it. Ethiopian,
Selah,
right?
Selah Shalom. You know what that is?
Go ahead, speak on it.
That's my baptismal cross from the Ethiopian Orthodox Tawahedo Church.
He's a brother. Brother.
Where you get that from? Ethiopia?
No, I was baptized at Maxfield Avenue in Jamaica. My baptismal name was Tesfa, or is Tesfa Selassie, which means promise of the Holy Trinity.
Ixio, Fikre Miriam, brother. Ixio.
So in terms of, yes, greetings to you, Revelation. But in terms of what Brother Selah says, I was baptized in, what was that, 1998, 1997, that sort of time frame, a long time ago. But what Brother Selah is speaking about in the church is he's exactly correct, that Christianity was brought to Ethiopia by the Syrian monks, Frumentius, during that time period. They do talk a lot about the Acts of the Apostle, and the Ethiopian eunuch, but in terms of the formalization of the Christian dogma, put it that way, that was brought into the country by these foreigners. And in Ethiopia, as we know, there was a belief system that was more in line with the Kemetic belief system before the Christian monks came to Ethiopia. Basically, they were sun worshippers. They were sun worshippers. But I want to push back, Brother Selah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Push back a little bit, because when you're talking about the and I'm not a full authority. I do have a lot of information, and I just jumped on, so I'm not fully prepared. So you have to excuse me. But
No,
when you're talking about the conflict between, because you talked about the Roman Orthodox. So remember that the Ethiopian Orthodox is more aligned with the Coptic Orthodox. You would agree with that, right?
Correct. That's where it stemmed from.
That's the Oriental Church. It's not the Roman, because you have the Roman Catholic and you have the Oriental Church, which is Ethiopia, which is Egypt, which is places like Russia, the Syriacs, and so on and so on. Right. There was a big debate during that time, which caused that schism between the monophysites versus the diphysites.
That's right.
So I think you're blending it a bit too much, where you're saying how the Ethiopian Tawahedo is in line with the Roman Catholic perspective on Christianity. I don't disagree whatsoever in terms of the origin of Christianity in Ethiopia. And in fact, when Brother Ron Dalton was talking about the Falashas, that also came from external influences as well. That's not indigenous to Ethiopia either, the Falasha Jews.
Right.
So I've moved further from that and moved closer to our indigenous African traditions personally. So I wonder if you have any information about that in terms of the monophysite versus the diphysite arguments that were taking place at that time.
Yeah, and like I said, all that comes back to Rome, because those debates was dealing with the divinity of Jesus Christ. Was he one with the Father or was he not? Those were the root of those debates. That's why those 9 saints had to flee persecution, because they was not in agreement with the Pope, who was with the Orthodox Catholic Church, who was saying that Jesus and the Father are one and the same, while the Arian and those who opposed that were saying, nah, we're not with that. But being that Rome had the authority and the power, that's how they was persecuted and had to flee. And then when they came to Ethiopia, in my perspective, is that they was aware of all the biblical literature in the region that they came from the Eastern Roman Empire. So they would have been aware of all these biblical literatures and texts. So if they would have came with any of that to Ethiopia, that's how you would have get your translation from Syriac, Hebrew, Aramaic into Ge'ez, coming from these 9 saints who would have been exposed to those literatures in Greek and Latin, or in Greek at the time of 450 A Common Era, during the time of that Council of Chaldean, however you pronounce it, when
Chalcedon.
Chalcedon. That's the council that made them flee into Ethiopia. That's where the split came from, because it was the debate was, is Jesus natural person born, or is he God the Father, the Son? That's what the debate was about. And these are Romans. Right. This is under the Catholic Church having these 100%. Debates. That's why I say all roads lead back to Rome. Because when we go back to these councils meetings, the Council of Nicaea, the Council of Chalcedon, it's from there that all this.
But could I jump in last bit, because I know you got more people on the panel? But would you say, as a result of what you just said, there is a definite difference that has been maintained between the schism between the Roman Catholic and the Oriental Orthodox, including the Ethiopian Orthodox?
I agree. It's not much, but it's a little. It's not much.
And I do want to say, and I agree with you, that over time, over these past, 500 to 1,000 years, it's now become much more Romanized in Ethiopia. As you said, the images of the biblical images, even though they are story images, at least they were black, and they was, you know, done in Ethiopian sort of caricature. But over time, that has changed, and it has become more Romanized, more Protestantized as well. And there's been a lot of negative influences from European. But I'll jump back in as I hear more conversation.
Hey man, thanks for your breakdown, explanation, King. Rick.
All right, thank you. All right, moving over to the man Moses, the Ethiopian man with the Ethiopian Bible and the master plan. What's going on, Moses 777? You can't bring no pseudo shit to this now. This brother done brought out the scholarship. So you can't bring no pseudo stuff. What's up, Moses?
All right, so I'm still going to give the greetings to the fam, man. You know, peace, blessings, and love of our ancestors that's dwelling in the light of Yah the Most High. Shine down on us who are children of the Creator, and for them to protect us as we try to resurrect as gods on earth. So, Sanetta, man, finish this sentence, man. Listening is an what?
Art.
Listening is an art. Sanetta, if you really had been listening to me whenever I come on this platform, you would not have said what you said about me. You just basically lied on me, or you mischaracterized me. Yes, I do always talk about Ethiopia. But look, let me put it like this. I never talk about the Ethiopian Coptic Bible when I come on here. Talking about Ethiopia and talking about the Ethiopian Coptic Bible, those are two total different things. I talk about rebuilding the holy city known as the Aksumite Empire that existed in Ethiopia. That's what I always talk about. I never bring up the Ethiopian Coptic Bible because it is written in Ge'ez.
All right, let's get to the point, man.
I gotta clear my name, man. You ain't gonna rush me through this, bro. Listen, the Ethiopian Coptic Bible is written in Ge'ez, which is Greek. On this very platform, y'all all see me lose my ever-loving mind whenever Hebrews pull up a Greek dictionary. That should let everybody on here know that I got a certain feeling about Greeks. I got a slide up there, Sanetta. You gonna share slides, or you gonna cooperate with your brother, or no? You gonna put that first scripture up there? That very first one, that very first scripture. So when I read that, or when I read that in the King James, and I know that the Bible is taking place in African territory, what I see is Africans talking about these Greeks and talking about these Romans that went in there and just flipped the whole history, you know, to make it look like something else. So I don't really rock with the Ethiopian Coptic Bible. The only time I mention the Ethiopian Coptic Bible is just to show that Christianity was in Africa before it came to America, because there's a lot of people that feel like Africans were given Christianity when they came here to America, and I will mention that no, Christianity did exist in Africa before they came over here. That's
so the King James Bible existed first, and they was doing that.
No. The King James Bible, I believe, was copied from King Lalibella's book. The Ethiopian Coptic Bible is King Lalibella's book. That's why that area is called
Yeah, you gotta be very careful, because Cosmon is in the building tonight, and then we got the other brother over there, Prince Judah, and then of course Selah. So, and then we got Zion Warchild. So be careful, brother. What you saying?
What I'm saying is King James book is in English. I'm telling you.
You got Dr. David Roos up in here, so be careful, brother.
Right. What is there to be? I'm not saying anything that they don't already know.
Got some scholars up in here. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying anything that they don't already know. I'm telling you what the scholars know. The scholars know that the English book, the King James Bible, is copied from King Lalibella's book. That's the reason why you see the story about Jesus. I tell y'all all the time, there was no individual named Jesus. That's not what happened in that land. All of us were Jesus in that African territory. All of us were children of the Most High in that territory. That's not what the Ethiopian Coptic Bible says, and that's not what the King James Bible says. At the end of the day, you still got to take these English words and translate them back to the Hebrew Chaldee dictionary to see what the Masons see and have been hiding from us. And what the Masons have been hiding from us is that our ancestors were actually biblical God. Our African ancestors were the ones that made laws, statutes, and commandments. That's not what these white supremacist seminary schools been teaching, and they don't teach that in Ethiopia either. All of them Abrahamic faith people believe in the invisible man who had a favorite son named Jesus. I don't rock with none of that. My whole understanding is Kemetic, bro. So the only pushback I got with Selah, Shalom, and Cosmon is, why would y'all try to kick the back out of Ethiopians who are Africans and not kick the back out of a white man, OAHSPE, who obviously was against black folks? So the only question I got for both Cosmon and Selah Shalom, yo, are y'all FBA? Because to me, what it seemed like, y'all making an attempt to come against, I think, really at somebody like me that's talking about we need to leave up out of this white supremacist construct that they stole from Indians and return back to the land of our ancestors. The only real reason I can even see y'all trying to go in on the Ethiopian Coptic Bible and Sonetta saying what he said about me, I don't rock with the Ethiopian Coptic Bible. I rock with what was going on in that territory, which is our ancestors had an empire standing on.
Moses trying to bring smoke up in here, man.
I mean, so what's the real reason why y'all doing this? Why y'all taking the side of a white man over that has a fake book over Africans that basically got a book that was written by false prophets?
That
was kind of my concern.
Where do you want me to go?
So what was the question? Because
are y'all foundational Black Americans?
No, this ain't got nothing to do with the topic.
Like the video, thumb up the video.
Yeah, the topic of the debate, the topic of the presentation is the Ethiopian Bible, a product of Rome. So I kind of feel that you kind of just everywhere on the subject. You're scattered about. You're not horning in on a specific area, a specific point, so we can give you a specific answer. You kind of
I wasn't able to hone in on anything. I had to correct what Sonetta said. Sonetta told everybody that I'm always talking about the Ethiopian Coptic Bible. No, I don't. I know that book is written in Greek.
But
no, I said you're always talking about Ethiopia.
Yeah, because we had an empire there, and we're supposed to be rebuilding that. But
you keep saying we. Do you speak French? Are you French? Because you're talking about we. Listen. What I'm trying to tell you is you asked a non sequitur that had nothing to do with it, but just let me bust your head real quick. Your gods over there in Egypt and Ethiopia said that they came from the West. So you worried about foundational Black American aboriginals, all that? They said out their mouth that they came from the place of the setting sun, the most farther western regions. Well, the most farther western regions than Mauritania is America.
You're not busting my head. You might be busting other people's head. Wait a minute. I'm the one that tell people the biblical Egypt is over here.
You asked the question. That was just low hanging fruit.
I just asked you if you was FBA, bro.
No. And then on top of that, it has nothing to do with the conversation.
Like I said, Sonetta said that I'm always talking about the Ethiopian Coptic Bible, and no, I don't. I don't rock with that book because I do.
What? Hey, guess what? Can you show me a book in the world that a white boy ain't touched?
No.
Well, shut up.
Why would I shut up when
you get back on topic?
Okay, so big
you got a question.
You got a question. Cosmon, you got a white man's book, and you talking to me about a white
man? You got
every
a white
book
man's
touched by white folk.
Exactly. No, not every book. You got thousands of books in Timbuktu that's never been touched by a white man.
You got a white man.
Wait.
Every
This
one
the
of y'all.
bomb, son. You got thousands of books. Hold up. You got thousands of books in Timbuktu that they have to hide from the Arab traders that's never been touched by a white person.
What do you mean? They're in Arab schools. You're wrong.
Arab is not white. Arab is not white. Arab is Arab. White is European.
You're
wrong. Those are two different cultures.
You're wrong.
The Timbuktu was built by Arab. Listen, Timbuktu itself was built by Arab invaders and who have been.
When you say Arab, you don't say French, you don't say English, you don't say Dutch. You talking about Arabs? Ain't no be quiet nothing.
Be quiet.
You're not
All you got to do is
and
just
trying
listen.
to yell over
all you got to do, because 1,000 years before slavery went on.
You next, Rakufu, you next.
Yeah, just fall back. You dig what I'm talking about? It's still gonna hurt regardless. What I'm trying to tell you is Arab invaders built your Timbuktu. Arab invaders built your library that you hold so dear. So stop with all this. You dig what I'm talking about? I'm telling you all that colorism that y'all going through. I'm this, I'm that. I'm telling you it's all low-hanging fruit.
Cosmon, the question I have.
All right, hold on. Go ahead, Rakufu.
Now everything he just said was what you would call fluff and bait. He made no sense. Absolutely. He changed up in the middle of his rant and rave and went extra crazy about trying to simultaneously make an Arab a European, which they're two different people. Semitic people is semi this, semi that. That's one way. He don't even know what he's talking about. The second part of the part when he started talking, he just totally disregarded the fact that it was not Europeans. First he said it's the white man. Then he said it's the Europeans. You know what I'm saying? So which one is it? The white man, the European, or you just as lost as that blunt you smoking in your mouth and moving your hands? You seem dizzy, kid.
Yeah. I got a question for him real quick. So
no, hold on, wait a minute. No. Are you done? Because all that.
No. Go ahead. Ask your question.
He just did the
sub-Saharan. I'm not even.
Listen, he just did the sub-Saharan shuffle. I was on topic because guess what? All that he said.
Let him go.
That's how he did me.
There's tons of books. Listen. He hurt because he can't out.
You was hurt because you was doing it.
He can't outthink me. What I'm trying to tell him is all these books that you holding so dear, a white boy, a Arab, somebody else other than a nigga, put that stuff together. All these books that you hold so dear, I'm talking about Egyptology on its face is all European.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
there ain't. So stop, man.
I think you need to stop.
And the fact that you're trying to lean in to that somebody is white or somebody is black, that black or white has a stronghold on truth. It shows spiritually that you're low, not the person that's actually writing.
Right.
Let me ask him a question, son.
All right. Moses. Hey, I want y'all to get back on track. This is the King Selah show, y'all. Let's get back on track.
Yeah, get back on track.
This is a quick question. All right, so we all can agree that there's not very many books that have not been touched by a white man. But the question I have is, which white man would you rather rock with? Would you rather rock with a white man that's diverting your black attention away from Africa? Or would you rock with a white man that's directing your attention to Africa? Because when you look at the story of Sheba, Queen Sheba, that word is an English word. But if you look at the Hebrew definition for that English word, it's the reference number 7614. I put the definition up there, so I know to go ahead and show it to him.
Is up.
No, that's showing you where to find it in the there it is right there. Look at what it says. Sheba, the name of 3 early progenitors of tribes of an Ethiopian district. Why is a white man telling me about a queen in Ethiopia? I already believe I'm African, and now this white man is telling me that, yo, I had queens. There was queens of ours over in Ethiopia.
Boom.
That white boy that you follow don't point us nowhere. Shit.
Here we go again with that old Hebrew shuffle. He's shuffling again.
I asked you a question.
Listen, remember you said. Remember you rock with white people that don't point to Africa. Period. Well, remember the very first thing you came up here and said was that listening is a skill. The first thing you asked was, would you rather point to a white boy that's getting you away from Africa or one that's pointing you at Africa? If I gotta rock with a white boy, I want the one that's telling the most truth. That if I got to rock with one, period. Right? So again, low hanging fruit. You got to step your game up, bruh.
So Ethiopia is not Africa. You saying this white man is lying? That Ethiopia is not Africa?
Nobody is saying that. I'm saying
you're off topic.
You're saying colorism don't matter, bro.
I'm saying your colorism and your skinism and your low vibratory racism and hate and bias.
This ain't got nothing to do with none of that. This is about
what I'm saying. Then why do you keep bringing it back to black or white?
Calm down.
Because it's about land, bro. You
ain't got no land. What land you got over there?
You like being under the rule of white. Yo, he's shuffling.
All right, Prince Judah. Hold on, Prince Judah. You said that we didn't come from Africa. What are you talking about? Explain.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the majority of people who are under the auspices that all Negroes in America was brought over here on slave ships from Africa due to some Deuteronomy 28 prophecy in some Ethiopian Bible or King James Version Bible is absolutely insane to still be believing that today because of the facts that have come out, the information that's overwhelmingly onto the side of that we were already here in America. So the fact that we trying to reach to Africa where we're not from, you see what I'm saying? That's a whole trick by white folks anyway to try to.
Now, when you say when we're not from, who's the where? Who's the where not from?
Right. Because I did not do that.
I'm saying Negroidal people that are here in America, right?
You're talking about like the people that's on the platform right now.
I'm just saying in general, Negroes, right?
Okay.
We've been told that we come from Africa, but that was a play in order to take our land from us. We all know that.
Well, where did we come from then, if not Africa?
Yeah.
We are indigenous to this soil here in American land. That's obvious. Didn't you just find out that your people was native to this land?
Yeah, but I still my ancestors still go all the way back to Africa though.
But you can't prove that.
I don't. Yes, I could. I got a DNA test, brother.
The DNA test will show you. How is it your DNA test show an estimate, and I bet you if you pull it up and we look up what the science found in your blood when it's talking about that Nigerian that 70% sub-Saharan, none of it's going to be detected in the.
Where's sickle cell trait originate at?
In America.
It don't originate in America. That's that's an African disease.
It's not. And it's the mutation in Africa is totally different than the one in America.
One Mike Moses, you asked him a question, let him go.
Right. The sickle cell trait in America is different than the one that's in Africa. You dig what I'm talking about? And the one that's in America is older. So when you go back to the people groups like the Olmec and all them, you dig what I'm talking about? They're the most their genetics produce the
Yeah, I never heard that one, Cosmon. That's the first time I heard that.
Yeah, I know. You dig what I'm talking about? It's actually They produce
different than the sickle cell.
Hold on, they produce the sickle cell trait the most. Hold on, they were some of their variant produces the sickle cell trait the most. The second producing people on the earth, even higher than just nominal Africans and specifically West Africans, are the American Negroes, right? And then Africa has its own variant. I don't understand why people don't get that there are Aboriginal people to the world. They're everywhere are brown.
Okay, so can I push back?
Every Negro ain't the same type of Negro.
Can I push back on that, please?
Hey, yo, hold on, everybody, hold on. Yo, Unc, you there?
What's up?
Yo, I got Cosmon. I got Cosmon on the channel saying that sickle cells come from America, brother, not Africa. It was here first. Is that true?
He's just a nut, yo. No,
I got you live. You live. Everybody can hear you.
Yo, happy Thanksgiving.
He lost his mind.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Cosmon, he lost your mind, Cosmon.
He lost your mind, man. Tell him pull that paperwork on it, yo. We'll believe him, yo. Tell him get the paperwork.
Thank you.
Source it up. Source
it up.
Yeah, go source that up, baby. Get the source up and shut up.
Yeah, source that up or shut up.
I just pulled it up on my
Oh,
phone.
God, you lost your mind, man. How you gonna take my thing, yo? How you gonna take my source up and shut up, yo? Tell me
It
that.
literally, it
Oh,
literally
man.
says on my AI overview on my phone. It states that the mutation of sickle cell anemia across independently in different regions, including Africa, Middle East, India, and more commonly in the ancestral roots in these areas of the Mediterranean, South and Central America. Studies suggest.
Okay, I like that. 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 I like that.
All right.
But what's the oldest mutation of that, though? What's the oldest mutation of that, though?
I don't know. It don't tell me the oldest one. It just says that it's all over.
Yeah, I like that, though. I like that read. I like that read.
You tell them,
So
yeah, I like that read. You ready to say what, though? What you trying to make it say, though? What you thought it was saying, though?
He trying to make it sound like sickle cell don't originate in Africa.
Did you see that touchdown just now, Kansas City?
Yeah.
I see it. That's what I'm looking at.
Nah, damn. They just scored again?
Yeah.
Man, my Lions got their ass whooped, Suntan. What happened with that?
Oh, man.
I'm gonna jump on, though. I'm gonna jump on, so.
All right. Yo, everybody stop, man. I got to go to my brother Selah, man. See what he want to say. See if he got some thing to push back on. Selah, you got the floor, brother.
Yo, I'm just listening to y'all rant. You know, I like to stick to the topic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm letting everybody get off if they had to get off. But you know, coming back to the topic is the Ethiopian Bible, the product of Rome. You know what I mean? I showed that. I sourced that. I showed a construct historically coming down from Octavian, 30 BC, who conquered Rome. Then a claim of the Church of Alexandria, 42 AD, Common Era by St. Mark. Then when we came to the Papyrus 137 and Papyrus 45, which are the oldest Old Testament Gospels, it showed that Mark didn't write the Gospel of Mark. The book was anonymous. So that means that the name Mark was placed upon the gospel. So for the Church of Alexandria to be the foundation, the founder of that church would be St. Mark, is a fabrication. That narrative is based on a lie because there was no St. Mark. That name was given to the Gospels by one of the church fathers of the time. Now, they don't have the actual person who gave that name. It just showed that Eusebian referenced Papias of Herolius, you know how to pronounce them Greek names. It showed that he referenced him. So none of this is coming from the time period that it actually happened. All of this is coming from the 3rd century, and they're backdating what they're reading and placing the time of Mark 42 BC. They're placing the time of Jesus, his death, his birth, 3-6 BC, whatever. They're doing all that based off 3rd and 4th century documents. So they're backdating history and placing it. So they're giving you basically a false, fabricated narrative of the 1st century timeline of history. Mark, Matthew, Luke, all those are pen names. Those people did not exist. Those were names given by the church fathers to put on these gospels. So we don't know who wrote the gospels. The gospels are anonymous. So for the picture of Saint Mark to be in the Germanic Gospels, which is the oldest Ethiopian text, that alone shows Roman influence in the book. So I just want to stick to the topic. You know what I mean? We get back to what we're talking about. Or if not, we could close out, and then, you know what I mean? We can enjoy, y'all can enjoy your Thanksgiving, because I came to do what I wanted to do, was prove my point, and we proved it. We had some going back and forth, and I don't want to drift too far from the topic, but, you know, if anybody got any
I agree. I say we need to close out, because I want to keep this joint fresh. I want to keep it right. And yeah, brothers, we're going to close out, and then I'm going to give War Child and Cosmon a call, and we're going to see what we can do about this. So, peace.
Could I ask Selah one question before you close out?
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, Brother Selah, you said that there's a lot of influence in terms of the Roman influence, but you also mentioned the connection between Rome back to Greek, and then Greek who took over Alexandria, and obviously there's connections to Kemet. So would you say that a lot of the stuff that you mentioned in terms of the regalia, meaning the costumes that the Romans wear within the the Catholic Church, as well as the Coptic and Ethiopians wear within the Orthodox and Oriental churches, also goes back to Kemet? A lot of that regalia, a lot of the rituals and so on, because that's what I've seen from my research, that a lot of the costumes and the way that the Abunas do the work, and the way so on and so on, the incense and the way the churches are set up, goes back to Kemet. What's your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion is that it goes back to Frumentius, because when I was reading and sourcing, it showed Frumentius started the first monastery. So right there, that will be the start. And from there, it'll come on down to what you're talking about. So we always go back to the root of where the tradition started from. And it started with Frumentius, because he established the first monastery through King Izana. So that custom and culture would have been with Frumentius. And then Frumentius to Anastasius, and from Anastasius coming back to Rome. That's how it would have trickled down during the days of Anastasius, during the 3rd and 4th century, from that time period. So by the time of today, we see the full regalia with Roman influence. That's why I showed the dude with the Pope hat. You see the resemblance, the structure of the church. But don't get me wrong, you still would have your native indigenous culture tied to things. You know what I mean? Like you got like in the Caribbeans. You know, they may do Christianity a little different in the Caribbeans. They may, you know, rice and peas. The Jamaicans may have their rice and peas curry in a pot in the church, but in America they don't have that. So there'll still be cultural adaptations that they may reserve while they still believe in Christianity. You know what I mean? So you may still find some indigenous Ethiopian culture within the Christian culture. You know what I mean? So
I think you should look some more into that, because the Frumentius, remember the Frumentius, he would have gotten it from the Romans, and the Romans would have gotten it from the Greeks, but the Greeks, the traditions came out of Kemet. But the
thing is that we got to stick to the time period. We're dealing with the first century. The Greeks conquered Egypt in 330 BC Common Era. We're talking damn over 1,000 years ago. So we're specifically dealing with a certain time period, which is the 3rd, 4th century. We're dealing right there. We're not wiggling out of that. And we're showing influence from that time period. If we go back to when Greek first started, the Ptolemies, then we're going to be talking about Serapis and the influence of the Serapis and the Serapian temples of that day. You know what I'm saying? So, but no, we need to have a talk though. Since you like in the church, we can share ideas. You know what I mean? Share your experiences and stuff like that. I'm always up for the builds. Everything.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Dr. David Roots.
Anybody else before we get out of here, y'all?
I got a question.
I wanted to ask you a quick question about the thing with Brother Reggie, and how Brother Reggie was having a conversation the other day about the FBA thing with a kind of a low fruit dude, Kraft. But I know you know him, Sonetta. His name is Jason Black from the Black Authority. Him and Reggie would be because he's supporting the FBA. That would be a powerful, highly educated discussion if we can get Jason Black on the show, opposed to Reggie on FBA versus PAN.
I don't think that would be good.
Nah, okay.
The reason why is because Reggie is a good researcher.
Yes.
The beta is totally different.
Okay.
You know, and that's not taking nothing from Reggie.
Yeah.
Reggie's a helpful, researcher.
Yeah.
But as far as being a debater, he could probably get Reggie on the debating, because you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. Go ahead, Moses.
All right, so I gotta give an illustration, or I gotta give a parable or analogy before I ask this question to Cosmon, right? So I'm gonna use Sister.
Take me off the big screen, sir.
I'm gonna use Sister Serena Williams and her husband as an example before I ask this dude this question, right? So Sister Serena is a heavily melanated sister, right? But she married a melanin recessive man, and then they had children. So the first question I have is, do the children have the same level of melanin as the mother that gave it to them, or is it different?
I don't know. I never seen her children.
All right. Well, I'm gonna tell you. Well, most times when you have a very heavily melanated person making children with melanin recessive, a lot of times the children don't come out with the same level of melanin.
Well, that ain't what you asked. You asked, is they? I don't know. I never seen.
All right, well, I'm telling you, they not. I'm telling you, no, they don't. Their melanin is not the same as
okay,
their mother.
So what?
All right, so the reason why I gave you that analogy is because of what you said about sickle cell. The reason why sickle cell is different over here in America is because Africans gave it to Black Indians, and the Indians, because their genetics are different, that's the reason why it shows differently over here in America. It's not going to be the exact
Long as you recognizing that there were already Black Indians to give sickle cells here, we ain't got no problems then.
The Black Indians.
I'm just letting you know. Listen, what you saying, it doesn't matter. I'm saying the sickle cell trait popped up and mutated on itself multiple times, all by its own. It don't need you. It don't need you.
What I'm saying
hold on, Moses. I asked you if you had a question for Selah, brother, because we were closing out, man.
Okay, my bad. Sorry.
All right, so thanks everybody for coming through. Appreciate y'all. And hey, Zion, you still there? Zion Warchild? Okay, Zion. I'm here. We'll call later, Zion, and let you see if I can hook up something with y'all two brothers.
All right.
Mind, if you still got my number, hit me up.
Okay.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Appreciate
it. Somebody had a question.
I know.
I did. It's all good. I already know the answer.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Peace and blessings, y'all.
What's going on later, Si?
Peace, Credit. We out this thing, man. Yeah.
Some good rest, man.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That sounds like the winner.
Peace.
Hey, Elder Suntan Spitfire, ignite the scroll from pyramids to pavement. They feel the soul, Elder Apostle dropping jewels rare and colossal. The HOK, we get hustle over gospel. Religion in your ears, science in your nostril. House of consciousness, ain't no room for the docile. Toughest debate forum, earth can't deny. Iron sharpens iron till the sparks start to fly. Sign at us, that source up. Get your skin thick or your career fold up. Sign at us, that source up. Weak arguments crumble, they ain't bold enough. Micah Guillotine, slice the lies from the clean. Crowd electrified, charged like a live machine. Hieroglyphs in my veins, ancestors in my spleen. Building blocks of truth, DNA of a king. The HOK ain't for the timid or the frail. Weigh your knowledge on a scale or get derailed. Sharpen swords in the foreign minds prevail. A drown in the current when the truth sets sail. Sign at us, that source up. Get your skin thick or your career fold up. Sign at us, that source up. Weak arguments crumble, they ain't bold enough. Iron tongue, every word a blade. Cut through illusions, truth displayed. No retreat, no surrender, we crusade. House of consciousnness where legends are made. Sign at us, that source up. Get your skin thick or your career fold up. Sign at us, that source up. Weak arguments crumble, they ain't bold enough. Bold enough.